Welcome back to this career readiness course on the essentials of entrepreneurship brought to you by UCI Extension. This is Module 4. In Module 4, we're going to get right down to it and talk about starting a business. So you've analyzed, your opportunity, you've evaluated that, moved it from third person to first person. We've done a feasibility study and we've done the finances, and we've got at least, if not a business plan, we've got at least a feasibility study put together. We've looked at the skills and the tools we're going to need, and we've developed those things in us, or understand that we need to keep developing those things in us. And now we want to get down to it and actually start the business. Starting a business is a very involved process. Or actually, I should say it can be a very involved process. Depending where in the world you're watching this from, you could be in a very, very regulated environment. You can be in a very unregulated environment. I have lived in several countries around the world. I've done business in several countries around the world. And in some of the countries in which I've lived, most people just start a business. You just go into business. You don't incorporate anything. You don't tell the government. You just start a business. Technically speaking, that's not theoretically legal, but it's the way it's done in that particular society. People start a business, and once it's up and running, once it's got some momentum behind it, then they incorporate. I am not advocating doing anything illegal here, and I never would, but I do want to bring up the fact that you do want to do what is expected of you in that society and what you need to do in that society. And I want to give you the advice of always err on the side of legality and compliance. If you're not sure, be compliant. And this really can help you down the road. I've seen many people hurt from the fact that because they didn't need to, nor were they even expected to actually register their business or make it a legal entity, they got to a size where then they needed funding, and they couldn't get funding because when somebody looks at your funding, especially a bank looks at your funding, they can really only look at it from the time that you're incorporated, from the time that you're a legal entity, right? So you really, if you're watching this from a country out there somewhere in the world where this is not ultra-regulated, don't take leeways because you can, right? Incorporate as soon as possible. Follow the law of the land. This is always the best advice. It's going to pay off in the medium to long term, if not in the short term. For those of you in most Western societies, Europe, especially the United States, no. You do things by the book, you incorporate, you pay your taxes, you do it right from the beginning, and this is vital. Okay, so here we go into the steps of starting a business. We're going to cover incorporation, banking and accounting, the legal environment. We're going to look at systems and technologies, and we're going to look at what we call bricks and clicks. In other words, the physical aspect of your business versus the digital, the mobile, the social, the online aspect of your business. We're going to look at these in brief, again, a general overview, and see what we as entrepreneurs have to do in the starting a business, the launching a business process. Okay, the first thing that you're going to want to do, you're going to need to do, is you're going to need to incorporate your business. And the reason for that is because one of the first things that you're going to need to do is you're going to need to open up a bank account for your business. And you can't open a bank account until your business is incorporated. Now, there is a very quick and easy way to do this, which is the sole proprietorship. Now, this, of course, I'm talking to you from the United States of America, from the state of California, from sunny Irvine, California. How do you create a sole proprietorship in the state of California? I simply do business. If I do business with you, I've just created a sole proprietorship. I haven't filed anything, I haven't declared anything, but I've done business and I'm going to need to report that, and therefore I have a sole proprietorship. Now, I'm probably going to want to formalize this by filing a DBA, right? A doing business as, which is a fictitious name statement. So maybe I want to do business with you as happy-go-lucky businesses, right? Or happy-go-lucky business. So I'm going to have to incorporate that name, or just reserve that name and say, this is David Standen doing business as happy-go-lucky business, right? Now, interestingly enough, if I keep my name in the business, I don't necessarily even have to file the DBA. If I can just say David Standen and Associates, my name is in there, and therefore I don't even actually have to file a fictitious name statement. But if you're not using your name, you probably do have to file one. You should file one. And that's the most basic way of starting a business. Now, depending on the business that you're starting, you're going to want to look into different forms of incorporation. If it's a typical partnership, you might want to just look at an LLP. There's what we call the corporations, the C Corp, the S Corp. Now, if you want to be able to sell stock in the future, or you want to be able to easily add and remove investors, maybe a C Corp or an S Corp is best for you. There's also the LLC, Limited Liability Company, right? Like a limited liability partnership, but this one focuses a little bit more on the company itself. And you can add and remove partners, add and remove investors. I don't want to get into the technicalities of each of these too much because these are going to change depending on where in the world you are and what forms of incorporation there are where you exist. But you want to look at the kind of company that you want to run, where you want to go with it in the future, and what you expect from that company in the short term. Because do understand, in most countries, in most places, you can actually change your form of incorporation. You can be an LLC and then change into a C Corp, or vice versa. Okay? So it's not like if you just choose one form, you're stuck with that form forever. You want to avoid having to change if possible, but if you think that it might be in your best interest, and here I'll give you an example in California. In the state of California, a LLC needs to pay a minimum tax of $800 a year. So you're going to have to, from day one, pay a minimum of $800 tax for your LLC. Well, if you expect to incur significant losses in the first 2, 3, 4 years of business, well, if you're in loss, you don't have to pay tax. But if you're in an LLC, you do. So what you might want to do is incorporate as a C Corp, right? Have your losses, save on the tax, and then in that year 3, 4, or 5, when the money really starts to come in, at that point, again, depending on how you want to raise capital and deal with partnerships and investors, it could be in your interest to change over from a C Corp into an LLC and pay less taxes, depending on the business you're doing. So you certainly don't want to jump around. You don't want to have changed your incorporation status to 3, 4, 5 times. But it could be a strategy, depending on your business, to incorporate one way to start. Also, it's much less expensive to incorporate a C Corp than an LLC. So if money is a concern early on, which usually it is, you might want to choose a form of incorporation that you think you might want to change as you go down the road. So you've incorporated your company, or you've got a sole proprietorship and you've filed a fictitious business name. You want to go over now and open up a bank account. Now, this is extremely important because you need to keep business funds separate from personal funds. This is important. If your business grows at all, this is going to be even more important. But you want to stay away from the commingling of funds. Make sure that you can very clearly show this is what I've put into the business, this is what I'm getting out of the business, and this is much easier if there's 2 accounts. So whether the law requires you to do it or not, it's definitely a best practice. Simplify as much as possible where this is concerned. I always encourage people, open your business bank account at the bank that knows you and where you're currently doing business. In the beginning, you're probably going to have to transfer money back and forth quite a bit between the two. And so if you're at the same bank, that transfer can be instant, whereas if you have different banks, it can take a day or two to get that transfer across. So simplify, try to keep everything under one roof. Don't follow pennies or promotions. In other words, don't say, well, this bank is known for businesses, so I'm going to go over and incorporate with that bank because that's a better business bank. You know what? When your business reaches that size or that volume, take your business over to another bank. That's okay. you're going to become disillusioned with banks in the entrepreneurial process. A mentor of mine once told me that his mentor told him, your bank is your business partner. Your bank is your business partner. Unfortunately, I find very few banks that view you in the same way. In fact, I think it was Bob Hope who said, a bank is an institution that will give you money as long as you can prove you don't need it, right? And that's what you're going to find as an entrepreneur. You're going to find that banks, as soon as they realize you're an entrepreneur and you've got a business, they instantly start telling you how conservative they are, how they're not known for, getting into startups, and they don't deal with this kind of thing. You know what? That's the nature of banking. Banking is conservative. Once you're up and running and you've got cash flow coming in, once they see how you can profit them, then of course they're going to be knocking at your door and they're all going to want your business. It's the nature of the beast. So simplify your life with banking. Unfortunately, in my experience, not just in America, but in other countries, they're not going to be ultra loyal to you. So you don't necessarily need to be ultra loyal to them. Go with the bank that best serves your needs at the moment. This is just some very practical advice, and some advice that maybe I've learned the hard way in the past, trying to go with a bank that I thought would be better for me in the future, as opposed to a bank that's going to simplify my life right here and now. When it comes to banking, when it comes to the beginning steps of entrepreneurship, only add complexity where necessary. So open up your account, different than your personal account. Try to get a credit card for your business. Now, you're going to have to personally sign. In America, in California, that's the way it is. You think, well, I incorporated a company to be a separate legal entity. That legal entity should get the credit card, not me. That's the way the state of California would like it to happen. That's the way the government would like to happen. That's not the way the banks are going to work until you're operating at least $500,000 a year. So until that point, you're going to sign for everything personally yourself, but get it anyway because that helps you keep accounts separate. You use your business account for business stuff. You use your business credit card for business things, personal account for personal things, etc., etc.